What's up, guys? Today I feel like starting a project. Behind me on this wall I have lots of guns. I've got small guns, I've got big guns, and I even have a sniper rifle. But one thing that's missing is a rocket launcher. So, several months ago, a small, irrelevant YouTuber known as Callsign Reach.
Wait till you see the. No. Look at the top of his head. Irrelevant.
Built a completely homemade rocket launcher. I watched the video and it got me thinking. His rocket launcher uses a valve and a CO2 cartridge. So that's all well and good, CO2's got a lot of power in it, but the problem is that every time you reload you need to take the thing apart, you need to put a new CO2 cartridge in, you gotta fire it, and then the firing is kind of inconsistent because it requires you to push open the valve as quickly as possible as to not only semi-pierce the cartridge or as to not, only semi-release the gas. On the other side, the projectiles he's launching are essentially just duct tape rolls, which again works, but that's not the kind of style I'm looking for. So I watched his video and I said to myself, Callsign Reach, building things is kind of my thing, and I bet that I can build a more consistent, smaller, better looking rocket launcher than you can. So I decided the best way to go about that was pre-made 40mm grenades that you'd stick in your normal airsoft grenade launcher that you buy. So how these work is you fill in the valve with green gas, you stick whatever you want on top. In this style, it's a big empty hole, so you'd cover that up with a plastic plug. Then you stick in the grenade launcher, you fire it, and it shoots whatever out of the barrel. The firing mechanism is simply this big silver button. So all you gotta do to fire it is press that button, and that's the mechanic I kind of wanted to exploit with this grenade launcher. Without any mechanical parts, I think that if I can just figure out a way to create a tube of any length where I can stick my hand in and press the button on the back of this grenade, it'll fire it and I'll be able to have a grenade launcher. The length of the tube itself doesn't really matter because, as some of you might know, grenade launchers come in all sorts of sizes and all the compression is actually happening inside the canisters. So you could have a grenade launcher that's the same, barrel length as the actual grenade, and you could fire it without having any problem. So at that point, the actual length of the grenade launcher is just up to my discretion. Besides that, I really haven't figured out tons of engineering on this. I've got the iron sights. I know that I'm going to be using PVC pipe, but outside of this, I don't really know, so that's going to be an adventure. What I do know is that I want to be able to rest the miniature launcher on my shoulder, fire it, and be able to remove one of these canisters and stick a new one in and fire it again semi-rapidly. Other than that, I really don't have a lot of engineering. So next, I'm gonna head over to Home Depot and look at PVC pipe probably for an hour and decide how I want to build this thing. See you in a bit. Alright, so after spending probably an hour and a half, 2 hours at Home Depot, we finally figured something out. So these are the things I'm going to use. First, 2 inch by 2 feet long PVC pipe. This is going to be the main body of the rocket launcher, just as is. Personally, I think 2 feet is just a good enough length as it is, and after all the things we're going to do to it, it's going to get a little bit longer. But I like the, having the mobility of such a small package. The next thing is a 2 inch to 4 inch, I think it's called a flush bushing. This is going to go on the end, and it's going to make the back blast. Fully just aesthetic. The other thing is a 2 inch coupling. It's used to attach two 2 inch pipes together. That's going to get on the front, and that's going to make the front. So now we have, the basic body of the launcher. However, a 2 inch pipe is way too wide for, a grenade. The thing will just fly right through. But it is just wide enough. It's the perfect length actually for our projectile. One of these little footballs. This is a EVIC, I remember what they're called, but essentially it's like a Nerf football. It's $4, which is kind of a rip-off, but even the Nerf footballs go for like $7, so I bought a couple of these. So anyway, the thing's gonna go, or the rocket is gonna go in the front, shake it a little, get it down in there. But now, how are we going to launch it? That's what took the longest time, is figuring out how to embed one of these somewhere in here. Somewhere in here, like so. People have, set it up so that the grenade just sits in the back and you have to reach in the back to fire it. But I didn't want that. I want something where it'd be comfortable to hold and I could launch it from the side. So what we ended up doing is grabbing a 1-inch pipe, this is a 1.5-inch pipe in 2 feet because that's the shortest they'll sell it. And the grenade stops. What we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this probably just about an inch, maybe 2 inches. Yeah, I think actually we'll probably need to cut 2 inches. This is a reducer. On this side it's 2 inches, and on this side it's 1.5 inches to connect it. So what we did is we grabbed 2 of these, 2 reducers. Imagine that this pipe is only about an inch in length. On this side, the grenade will slide right in. On the other side, since it's going to stop probably like right here, it probably makes more sense if it looks like this, it'll attach back to the other side of the 2-inch wide pipe. So ideally, we're going to have this really small coupling unit embedded into the launcher right about here. So if that doesn't make sense, I'm going to cut this down right here, stick on the whole connector assembly, and then stick on the other side. That way, when the grenade comes down in here, it'll stop at this section that gets smaller. Other than that, we bought, there's just PVC pipe cement. How this works is it melts the plastic essentially in between the 2 PVC pipes and bonds it together. And matte clear coat and matte black spray paint so that the whole thing will go together nice and smooth. So I think the first thing we got to do is cut the pipes to length. Then I'm going to sand it all down, glue the pipes together after the assembly is put together, and then paint them. So that's what's up next.
What's nice about this project is you'll need to make 2 or 3 cuts. So first I cut this 2-inch PVC to about 8.5 inches roughly. So how I came up with that number was I put the 2-inch PVC on my shoulder and I put my hand on it where it was comfortable, where I could launch the grenade, and I marked off where my thumb rested. Right there would be right about where you need to cut it for it to be comfortable. So if you're smaller, maybe it'll be smaller. If you're bigger, maybe it'll be bigger, but that's how I did it. Next, I just cut a 2-inch piece off of the 1-inch pipe and just save the rest for later. So the next thing to do is just put the thing together so you know how. I toss aside the 1-inch. First, let me set all these pieces up so that they're in proper order before putting it together. Here's my short 1-inch section, and I'm going to grab both couplers and just, attach it pretty solidly. And now that is the middle section that's going to stop the grenade from going anywhere once you slide it into the pipe. Now I'm just going to attach both sides of the 2-inch. And finally, the flush bushing back blast and the front coupler. At this point, I decided that the launcher was too long for my taste, especially from adding that middle section, so I decided that I wanted to cut it to about 2 feet total in length. Next, I need to cut in a window where I can fire the grenade. So here, you see that the grenade sticks out about 1/2 inch away from the reducer. So I reattach the reducer and mark 1/2 inch away from it where I'll start cutting in a window with the Dremel. After that, you sand all the components down with rough grit, 100 grit sandpaper, something like that. Then you attach it all using PVC glue. You wait a few hours, then you can start your painting. I did like 4 coats of matte black paint followed by 3 coats of clear coat. Let that dry for the rest of the day, the rest of the night. Then I took an old G36 style rail that I had, and I cannibalized iron sights off of my APS with the canted iron sights, because those can actually be removed. And I used the screws that came with the rail to go into the pipe because they're very shallow. So I drilled some small holes into the pipe and then followed that in with the screws and just tightened them out without any washes or anything.
And just like that, the rocket launcher is done. This was definitely one of my easiest and least frustrating projects that I've ever built. So, engineering, it is really just a big tube that gets small in the center here. That's the 1-inch part, so that on one side, the 40mm grenade will stop right here. I've cut this little window out with a Dremel so that I can stick my thumb in, and it's fairly large so that I can fit in with a glove, or if somebody else was firing that had bigger hands, they could also fit it in. And all you do is press the button back there and the projectile shoots out the front. I've attached the flip-up sights. I don't really expect them to be, any sort of accurate to rifle sights that I've just kind of eyeballed onto the middle here. They are adjustable, so we'll see. But really, I expected, it'd probably be better to have some sort of grenade launcher sight on the side where you can adjust the elevation versus just shooting it forward. But I thought it looked cool and made it look more like a weapon. The one thing I'm missing that I think I'll add on later, probably outside of recording, is sling points. Because what's the point of having something this small and portable if you actually got to carry it? A little sling point up in the front here and a sling point back here in the back blast, so you can just carry this thing on your back. It's seriously like a pound, maybe 2 pounds in weight, so it's super light and it won't encumber you at all. You can just pull it up and fire it whenever you need it. That being said, let's go out and let's shoot it a bit. And we are back. So let's talk about the ups and downs of this. Ups, fast reloads. You put your projectile in the front, you drop one of these down here, it falls into place every time. Fire, reload, pull out another one, drop it in, repeat. That's easy. It's very cheap. All the materials that I went over earlier cost me, I think, $32. So if you already have, spray paints, it'll be even cheaper. If for some reason you already have, PVC pipe, of course, even cheaper. Downsides is that you cannot load it until you're ready to fire. What I mean by that is the 40mm, right? It slides in and out easily. And that means once you stick it in, you have to put your hand inside the window in order to keep and if you want to move around with it in order to keep the thing from falling out. Because otherwise, as soon as you turn it, it's gonna rattle around in there. So unfortunately, if you're carrying this on your back, you cannot carry it loaded because everything's gonna fall out. The projectile on the other side will also fall out because while it does have a pretty snug fit in here, it still moves around when you shake it. That's a good thing on one side because when you load it, you don't need to get a ramrod to stick the thing in. You can just stick it in, give it a little push, shake it a little bit, and it's down there. It's a downside because you can't hold one in there because again, if this is face down, it's gonna fall out on its own eventually. That being said, it's still small, portable, and it's fast firing. Oh, another downside is actually you gotta buy the 40mm shells. These things are not cheap. They run, minimum $30, maximum they go in the hundreds for different kinds of things. These are the short multi-purpose rounds. I decided that those are the best because it means that you can load different things in them. So if I wanted to, I could, or you could just buy different grenades. If you buy a few shower grenades or load one of these up full of BBs and cap it, you can carry those on as anti-personnel, where you can fire them and shoot a whole cloud of BBs at whatever. Or you can carry them empty and carry some of those foam balls and fire those as large anti-vehicle weapons. Other than that, I gotta figure out how to get sling points on here, and then that's good. I really like this thing. Very small. It's not realistic, actually. That's another downside. If you're looking for, super realistic weapons, this definitely is not one. Other than that, I think it's an all-around good time. If you build one of these, some of you younger people might think it's smart to put something that, is on fire, like a firework, and fire that out and blow up. Don't do that. You'll blow yourself up. Green gas is propane. It's flammable. If you put anything flammable in this and try to launch it, you'll blow yourself up. You essentially turn into a pipe bomb. So don't do that. Other than that, thanks for watching the video, guys. If you like this kind of thing, like, sub, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.